I used to roll my eyes every single time someone, especially a well-meaning mentor, mentioned the 7 habits. It felt like corporate jargon, a dusty old textbook full of obvious advice I was too cool, too busy, or frankly, too clever to need. Then reality hit me, hard. My boss passed me over for a promotion I was absolutely convinced was mine. My savings account looked less like a financial cushion and more like a phone number with 3 sad, lonely digits. And my weekends? They were a blur of mindless doom scrolling, leaving me feeling emptier than before, instead of doing anything that truly mattered. That's when the nagging question finally surfaced. What if this cliché advice isn't the problem? What if I'm the problem? What if I'm just too stubborn, too proud, or too set in my ways to actually test it out? Stay with me, because I'm about to lay it all out for you, the exact brutal price I paid for ignoring each of these powerful habits. More importantly, I'll show you how simply flipping that switch, even just a little, changed everything for me, faster and more profoundly than I ever thought possible. For years, my life was a masterclass in blame. Traffic was always the reason I was late. The economy, naturally, was to blame for my perpetually broke status. And my parents? Well, they were the convenient scapegoats for every trust issue and insecurity I carried. The ugly truth? I wasn't just blaming. I was actively giving away every single ounce of control I had. My internal monologue sounded like a broken record of, if only, and it's not my fault. The moment I finally stopped that self-defeating loop and started asking myself, what can I actually do about this today? Was like a switch flipping in a dark room. I stopped waiting for the world to magically fix itself, for circumstances to align perfectly, or for someone else to hand me a solution. The cost of that passivity was steep. I lost 3 years of potential raises because I simply never asked for one, convinced my hard work would speak for itself. The very first year I owned my part, when I actively sought out opportunities and negotiated, my salary jumped an astonishing 18%. This isn't about being aggressive. It's about taking initiative, understanding your circle of influence, and focusing your energy there. Stop keeping score of what life owes you and start running small, actionable experiments on things you can influence. Your overflowing inbox, your neglected health, or even just the tone you use in arguments. Pick one irritation today, no matter how small. Write down a single, concrete action you can take within the next 24 hours to address it. Then, watch as that victim story you've been telling yourself slowly but surely loses its grip. It's incredibly liberating. I used to set New Year's goals with all the enthusiasm of a puppy, then wonder why December looked identical to January. My goals were vague aspirations like get fit or save more money. They lacked any real substance, any driving purpose. No clear vision, no filter for decision-making, and absolutely no sustained progress. It was a cycle of hopeful starts and inevitable fizzles. Then I stumbled upon Covey's powerful funeral visualization. It sounds a bit morbid, I know, but it's profoundly clarifying. I actually sat down and wrote out the 3 things I genuinely want people to whisper about me when I'm gone. Not what I think they should say, but what truly resonates with the person I aspire to be. Instantly, half my overflowing to-do list looked utterly ridiculous. Why was I pouring hours into building a side hustle I didn't even care about? Why was I chasing superficial accolades that wouldn't mean a thing in the grand scheme? I realized I'd lost 2 precious years chasing trends, shiny objects, and other people's definitions of success. None of which truly lined up with my core values or what I wanted my legacy to be. Without a clear destination, I was just drifting. Now, I challenge you. Craft a 1-sentence personal mission statement. Let it be your internal compass, your ultimate filter. Let it ruthlessly murder all the busy work that feels productive but isn't moving you towards that meaningful end. Remember, future you is already watching current you through a pair of high-powered binoculars. Make absolutely sure the view is worth it. My calendar was less a tool for productivity and more a museum of other people's priorities. Seriously. I said yes to every meeting, every coffee invitation, every casual favor, convinced I was being helpful or indispensable. Then, I'd stare blankly at my own goals, watching them slowly suffocate under the weight of everyone else's demands. My dreams, the truly important but rarely urgent items, were rotting away in quadrant 2 of the time management matrix. The personal cost was heartbreaking. I lost the first 18 months of my daughter's life to after-hours emails, convinced I couldn't step away, that everything would fall apart without my immediate attention. Looking back, that time is irreplaceable. Now, I've learned to fight back. I time block at least 2 quadrant 2 items, those important but not urgent tasks that actually move my life forward, before 11 a.m. every single day. Everything else, every incoming request, every spontaneous demand has to negotiate around those sacred blocks. If a request doesn't directly serve my personal mission or genuinely spark joy, and no, not everything has to spark joy, but it should at least align with purpose, it's met with a polite, firm no. This isn't selfish, it's self-preservation and goal achievement. Try this today. Before the world books you solid, schedule that one thing you keep postponing. Whether it's that yoga class, updating your resume, or a much-needed date night with your partner. Protect it like it's your most important client meeting, because, in a way, it is. For far too long, my approach to negotiation was that of a gladiator. I win, you lose, and then I move on to the next conquest. My mindset was zero-sum. If I gained something, someone else had to lose. The result? Deals that were one-sided collapsed quickly, partners became resentful, and referrals? Forget about it. My network was shrinking, not growing. This combative stance cost me dearly. I lost roughly 40% of my freelance income to what's called scope creep, projects expanding beyond the original agreement, because I was simply too confrontational, too focused on winning to discuss it constructively. I thought asking for clarification or renegotiating would show weakness. When I finally shifted my perspective and started asking, how do we both score here? What does a true win look like for everyone involved? Something magical happened. Contracts got longer, working relationships grew stronger and more collaborative, and yes, my checks got significantly bigger. It's about finding common ground, mutual benefit, and understanding that true success often comes from collaboration, not competition. Next time you find yourself in a negotiation, whether it's about salary, household chores with your partner, or even just picking the next Netflix show, pause and genuinely ask yourself, what would victory look like for the other side? You'll be absolutely shocked how often their win costs you almost nothing, and in fact, pays you compound interest in trust, goodwill, and long-term partnership. My listening skills, or lack thereof, were legendary. I listened like a chess player, not a human being. Every word someone said was merely a setup, a strategic move, giving me an opening to pounce with my brilliant opinion, my ready-made solution, or my superior perspective. My poor wife could barely finish a sentence before I was handing her answers she never asked for, interrupting her flow, and completely missing the emotional core of what she was trying to convey. The price of that impatience? I lost intimacy, trust, and more arguments than I care to count. My relationships felt transactional, not deeply connected. Empathic listening, truly trying to walk in someone else's shoes, changed the entire scoreboard. Now, When she speaks, I make it my mission to paraphrase her words back to her, not just the facts, but the feelings, until she says, "Exactly. That's exactly what I mean." Only then, once she feels truly heard and understood, do I even begin to offer my perspective. This isn't just for personal relationships, it's a superpower in business. Try this with clients or colleagues. Watch how often they practically pitch themselves, how readily they accept your solutions after they feel genuinely heard and understood. Here's a practical tip. Try the 3-second rule. After someone finishes speaking, let their last word echo in silence for 3 full seconds before you jump in. It feels like an eternity at first, but in that space, you'll hear needs you never knew existed, and you'll be able to offer solutions they actually want to buy, not just ones you think they need. For years, I wore the lone wolf badge with pride. My mantra was, if you want it done right, do it yourself. I genuinely believed that relying on others just complicated things, slowed them down, and diluted my vision. The translation of that mindset? I capped my output, my creativity, and my potential at the exact size of my own brain. My capacity for growth was limited by my own limitations. This fiercely independent streak, while sometimes effective for small, isolated tasks, ultimately cost me years of exponential growth. Collaboration felt messy, inefficient, and frankly, a bit scary. I avoided it. But then, almost by accident, I launched a small group channel with 2 friends, all of us working in similar creative fields. Within 6 months, we had quadrupled our content output and halved our individual workloads. The collective brainpower, the diverse perspectives, the shared accountability. It was a force multiplier I never anticipated. Synergy isn't about simply working together. It's about valuing differences and combining strengths to create something entirely new and better than any individual could achieve alone. This week, grab one project, any project, and intentionally invite someone whose style or perspective might even annoy you a little. Different equals different, and often better results. Set one ground rule. For the first 15 minutes, no idea is stupid. Just brainstorm. Synergy isn't some kumbaya hand-holding session. It's raw multiplication disguised as conversation, and it's incredibly powerful. I treated self-care like a luxury seat I'd finally reach once the plane stopped shaking, once all the turbulence of life settled down. Newsflash. The plane never stops shaking. This mentality led directly to classic dull sore symptoms. Chronic burnout, an extra 20 pounds I couldn't shake, and that soul-crushing Sunday night dread that stole my peace before the week even began. I'd lost the creative edge, the sheer joy that once made my work fun and fulfilling. This habit, sharpen the saw, is about continuous self-renewal across 4 vital dimensions: physical, mental, emotional/social, and spiritual. It's not a reward, it's a necessity. Now, I fiercely guard 4 non-negotiable renewal blocks every single week. My kettlebell swings for physical strength, dedicated fiction reading for mental escape, our Sunday family hike for emotional connection, and a 10-minute nightly journal for spiritual reflection. These aren't optional, they are foundational. Productivity isn't a hose you keep kinking, trying to squeeze out every last drop of water. It's a blade you keep honing, ensuring it's sharp and effective for when you need it most. So, pick one renewal area today: body, brain, heart, or soul. And schedule a 30-minute appointment with yourself. Make it non-negotiable. Protect it like it's your most important client meeting, because you are, without a doubt, the most important client you will ever have. Your capacity to perform, to create, to connect, all hinges on this. If any of these losses sting a little too close to home, if you're nodding along thinking, yep, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, then hit that subscribe button right now. My channel is basically a crash course in not repeating my mistakes, and I drop new lessons, practical strategies, and real-world insights every single week. Don't miss out. Ignoring one bad habit is like driving on a flat tire. It's inconvenient. It slows you down, but you can probably limp along for a bit. But ignore all 7 of these foundational habits? That's like steering on 4 flat tires, wondering why the entire journey feels utterly impossible. Why you're stuck in the ditch, going nowhere fast. That was me. I stayed stuck, bitter, and profoundly average for almost a decade because I thought the map, this proven framework, was corny, outdated, or just not for me. I believed I could outsmart it, or simply power through with sheer willpower. Turns out, the map was perfectly fine. It was incredibly accurate and profoundly helpful. I just stubbornly refused to even unfold it, let alone follow its guidance. The compounding cost of that ignorance was immense. Lost opportunities, strained relationships, and a deep, gnawing sense of unfulfilled potential. Here's the thing. I didn't overhaul my entire life in a single weekend. That's a recipe for burnout and failure. Instead, I picked just one habit, committed to it, and nailed it consistently for 30 days. Then, and only then, did I layer on the next. It was a deliberate, step-by-step process. The momentum snowballed in ways I couldn't have predicted. Proactive choices created more margin in my life. That margin allowed me the space to clarify my mission and vision. That clear mission made prioritizing my tasks obvious and effortless. And so on. Each habit building upon the last, creating a virtuous cycle. Within 12 months, I'd paid off the last of my student loans, doubled my income, and this was the truly bigger win. I started dancing in the kitchen with my wife again. That spontaneous joy, that reconnection, was a direct result of these shifts. Small, consistent deposits into these habits beat lottery thinking, quick fixes, and overnight transformations every single time. It's about consistency, not intensity. Alright, so what now? Don't just watch this and move on. Pause this video, grab your phone, and text yourself one tiny, micro commitment for each habit. Something you can do today or tomorrow. Mine looked something like this when I started. Be proactive. Draft that apology email I've been avoiding before 5 p.m. Begin with the end in mind. Write my funeral sentence during lunch today. Put first things first. Block 9 to 11 a.m. for focused code learning tomorrow. Think win/win. Offer my client 2 flexible payment options during our call. Seek first to understand. Listen to my podcast co-host for 5 minutes without interrupting. Synergize. Ask my sister if she wants to co-host an Instagram live session with me this week. Sharpen the saw. Go to bed 30 minutes earlier tonight. Tiny, super specific, and time-stamped. That's how you convert abstract philosophy into real-world movement and lasting change. Don't overthink it. Just pick one for each and commit. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment below. Which habit punched you in the gut the hardest? Which one resonated most? Or maybe made you realize where you've been stuck? I read and reply to every single one, often with the very next step I wish I'd taken sooner. And while you're thinking about that, tap the video popping up right now to see how I specifically apply these habits to build a morning routine that actually stuck and transformed my entire day. Remember, effectiveness isn't some innate talent you either have or don't. It's just a set of powerful habits you finally decide to stop ignoring.